In today's video, I'll be defending Bill Belichik. So right now in New England, it's looking pretty bad. I think the Patriots are like 3-10 right now at this point. So they're basically like last in the AFC East. It's looking pretty bad. But in today's video, I actually wanted to defend Bill Belichik because there's a lot of reasons why he's still, in my opinion, he's still the greatest coach ever. He's still half responsible for the dynasty. But first, I wanted to get into some criticism from Rex Ryan. Criticism like this hits harder because, he's like a former head coach as well. So let's go ahead and hear what he had to say before I begin. And this is Rex Ryan's comments.
This team plays like they're exhausted. And the Patriot way, that's it. It exhausts these kids.
That's true.
And Tom Brady was the only reason you won anyway. All right? I'm just telling you the difference. Tom Brady was the absolute difference. I said from jump, never win again. I said they would never win again when that guy trotted down to Tampa.
Yeah.
All right? When it came out. All right? Because I know how draining that is.
Okay, so let's start with that. Let's start with this criticism with Rex Ryan. We did see in two instances in New England where Bill Belichick had to coach without Tom Brady. One was when Tom Brady got hurt, like in 2007, I believe it was 2007. He actually got hurt. He went down in the very first game. And what happened? 11-5 happened. Like they won 11 games, lost 5 games. So I don't know. You tell me, like, was that without Tom Brady? So that was with the original assembled team that they had that was winning Super Bowls. They lost their star quarterback. They went 11-5. So you tell me. I don't know. I can't do math that well. I don't know, but it sounds like they still won some games. And then we saw another case. This was when, and don't get me wrong, this was during Deflategate. Tom Brady got suspended for 4 games. I'm not really blaming him for that necessarily. I mean, it was probably mostly his fault, but at the same time, that didn't really give like him a really competitive advantage because like we saw what happened like when the footballs were inflated normally. He did take some heat for that, but I don't really count that against him, honestly. Like it didn't really help him that much, like, with underinflated footballs. Some quarterbacks actually use like overinflated footballs. Like Aaron Rodgers actually prefers his to be on the higher, legally inflated standard. So it's a little different. So I don't really hold that against Tom Brady, but at the same time, what happened with the New England Patriots? They went 4-1. They went 3-1 in those 4 games. They got suspended 4 games with Jimmy Garoppolo and a backup quarterback, the third string quarterback. They still went 3-1 in those games. So that's coaching. That's with the defense that Belichick had. It was a 2-part system. Tom Brady was incredible, but it was a 2-part system. Tom Brady was all-time great, but Bill Belichick was an all-time great coach, and Tom Brady was actually the only elite quarterback that consistently had a great defense, and that's why he was able to win all those times. Otherwise, we're talking about Brady as a top 5 quarterback. We're not talking about him as the GOAT, but it was actually Bill Belichick that actually pushed him over the edge with his defenses. So if it wasn't for Belichick's defenses, we're not talking about like some of the Super Bowls they're not even getting to. Like the comeback in Atlanta, they didn't give up a single point in the second half, so we're having a different conversation every time. Like, if you don't have Bill Belichick's defense, like it's like a band, like they're good together, apart. We did see Tom Brady win that Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, but it was a little different because you had like a great defense assembled in Tampa Bay. It was a perfect situation, and I even predicted it. Like as soon as they got Tom Brady, I said they're winning a Super Bowl because they had a really, really great defense. And they had like pretty decent receivers as well. So if you think about it, it makes sense why Rex Ryan would say something like this. Because if you think about it, it's the Patriots that kept them out of the Super Bowl all these years. They made it to the AFC Championship games, but they're in the same division as the they're not winning the division because they're in the same division as the Patriots. And I really believe that in Rex Ryan's heart of hearts, as Skip Bayless says. He believes that he's just as good as Bill Belichick. He never had the great quarterback that Bill Belichick had. In Tom Brady, he had Mark Sanchez. Mark Sanchez wasn't that great, I know. But, I mean, he was okay, you know what I mean? And I know we remember for him for, like, the butt fumble and stuff like that. But Mark Sanchez was, like, okay, but there's really just a lot of bitterness and resentment. It's just clear jealousy, and that's just what it is. They're both defensive minds, and same conference, same division, and that's just what it is, really. So I know. You said, what happens if they, did you see what happened in Cleveland? Bill Belichik got fired. Everybody gets fired in Cleveland. No coach makes it out of alive in Cleveland. Like every single coach, so I did a little bit of research on this. It looks like Bill Belichick was actually 4th all time in, Cleveland Brown head coach wins. He even had a playoff game win. But, one of those coaches ahead of them, Marty Schottenheimer, who's like really good. But you had Marty Schottenheimer and you had Paul Brown, who was apparently like he's been there for a long time. I did the research. He's been there for like 15 seasons. So, there's some, being 4th all time, it's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. Look at Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll didn't do really well in New England, and then he got a second coaching job, and he's doing really well now. So every coach deserves a second chance. But I don't think Bill Belichick did that bad in Cleveland, to be honest. Like just given how horrible that organization has been, Alex, do you see? I know what you're thinking. Like Alex, they're doing horrible this year. Did you see them? They're 3-10. Yeah. So basically, that's a result of Bill Belichick's moves as a GM, not as a coach, but as a GM. He's been horrible as a GM. I'll admit that. He's made horrible decisions. He's the only GM that I've known to hire a defensive. See, people hire defensive coordinators as head coaches sometimes. That happens a lot. In fact, Bill Belichick is a defensive coordinator. Rex Ryan was the defensive coordinator. There's a lot of them. But to hire a defensive coordinator as an offensive coordinator, you don't know what you're doing. So clearly as a GM, he's made a lot of bad mistakes. He's only drafted 2 Pro Bowlers, I believe. And from what I heard, one was a punter, one was like a kick returner. Like, that's just not good enough, So they're bad because of his personnel decisions, But as a coach, I want you to hear a statistic too. Like let me play this real quick for you, and this will give you some perspective. But this was on the Herd, and Colin Cowherd mentioned. It actually wasn't Colin Cowherd, but it was actually his K-Mac. But let's go ahead and play that real quick. I want you to hear this because this is big.
Shutout 6-0. Patriots did not get to the red zone once. Neither did the Chargers, which is extremely rare. But here's a stat. The Patriots are the first team since 1938 to lose 3 straight games, allowing 10 or fewer points in all 3. I'm done talking about the Belichick stuff, Colin.
So what does that tell you? That tells you the defense is doing their job. The defense is stopping people. The first team, and you heard the stats. It's mind-boggling to me. So clearly the defense is doing their job. The offense, Bill Belichick doesn't know offense. He can put cogs in the system and make it work. Offensively, I know you had guys like Danny Woodhead, you had Wes Welker. You kind of had just guys out there. But if you think about it, like even Julian Edelman, they made it work because of Tom Brady. Tom Brady made those guys. Now you don't have Tom Brady, so now what? You can't just plug in guys, just on offense without an all-time great quarterback like Tom Brady. You need someone to make those receivers. So that's really where that issue lies. So in conclusion, Robert Kraft's going to make the right move. I believe he's going to. I'm not saying honestly. I feel like ideally you would want to keep Bill Belichick as a defensive coordinator, but that's just not going to happen. No coach is going to step down from a head coach role to do a lesser role. So realistically, they're going to get rid of Bill Belichick. They're going to go with a 40-year-old coach that knows offense. But it's going to take them a while because they're not going to just they don't have the pieces right now. So it's going to take them a while. They're going to have to do some drafting. They're going to have to figure some things out, hire an actual GM, and then figure out the offense. And then it's going to look good again. But then again, their defense is going to suffer. So it's going to be a little rough. It's going to be a rough, bumpy road. But I feel like the best bet, they're probably just going to start over from scratch. That's realistically what they're going to do. I think personally, Bill Belichick's not the problem. You can't let him be a GM. You gotta move on from him being a GM. Just let him coach. And so that's just the way I see it. I feel like they're gonna go young. Robert Kraft's gonna make that move sooner than later. But anyway, I want to get your guys' thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you think that Bill Belichick? obviously, I know a lot of people are really big on Brady, so they'll probably say that Brady is responsible for everything. But I don't agree with that. I still think it's a 50-50 proposition. I still think it's a 50-50 thing. I think Brady and Belichick are equally responsible. Otherwise, Brady's he's still a Hall of Fame quarterback no matter what. But I feel like he would just be another elite quarterback. He would just be another Drew Brees, another Peyton Manning, and we would be having that conversation of which one's better. The only reason we're even having the conversation with Brady as the GOAT over Montana is because, well, it's a close conversation, but it's because of those defenses. Like give Brady, give Manning, defenses, that great for that many years. Give Drew Brees, he's always had crappy defenses in New Orleans. Aaron Rodgers has had bad defenses in Green Bay. That's just the reality of it. But they're good. They're good apart, but I feel like they're way better together. But anyway, guys, catch you in the next video. Peace.